Biyernes, sinuwag ang isang excavator sa India. Ligtas naman kaya ang driver ng excavator mula sa naging pag-atake ng elepante? Silipin po natin ang lagay ng biktima mula sa mga detalye ng balitang ibabahagi maya-maya. Magandang gabi, ako po si Ricky Matay.
Ako si Nina Richie Alago Flores. Ito ang mata ng Agila International para sa mga headlines ngayong araw ng Martes.
Food security emergency para sa bigas ng Department of Agriculture, epektibo na.
3 Chinese warships pumasok sa territorial waters ng Pilipinas.
Elon Musk, planong ipasara ang USAID, 2 security chief ng ahensya suspendido.
7 katao patay sa bus crash sa Gujarat, India.
At Estados Unidos nagdeklara ng 30-day suspension para sa taripang ipapataw sa Canada at Mexico. Epektibo na ang food security emergency sa bigas matapos ideklara ito ni Agriculture Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel Jr. nitong araw ng Lunes.
Ayon sa kalihim, layo ng food security emergency na ma-address ang pagtaas ng presyo ng bigas sa merkado. Ginawa ang deklarasyon na ito dahil sa mananatiling mataas ang retail prices ng bigas kahit bumaba na ang global rice prices at tinapyasan na ang taripa sa bigas ng 15% mula sa 35%. Ayon sa National Price Coordinating Council o NPCC, malaki ang ambag ng rice inflation sa food inflation ng Pilipinas kung saan ay umabot na ito sa double digit. Kaya sa bisa ng emergency declaration, ilalabas ng National Food Authority o NFA ang kanilang rice buffer stocks para maging stable ang presyo ng bigas sa merkado. Sa kasalukuyan, nasa 300,000 metric tons ng bigas ang buffer stock ng NFA. Ayon sa Department of Agriculture o DA, ang kalahati ng buffer stock ay posibleng mailabas na sa susunod na 6 na buwan para masiguro na sapat ang supply ng bigas para sa mga emergencies at disaster response. Inaasahan na ititinda ang mga naturang buffer stock sa mga government outlets sa 36 pesos kada kilo at ibebenta ito sa mga consumers sa 38 pesos kada kilo.
Target ni Agriculture Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel Jr. na ibaba pa sa 50 pesos kada kilo ang maximum suggested retail price ng imported rice sa buwan ng Marso. Giit ng kalihim, isang paraan ito para mapagaan ang pasanin ng mga mamimili sa mataas na presyo ng mga pangunahing pagkain sa bansa. Bahagi rin anya ito ng pagsisikap ng kagawaran na maging stable ang presyo ng bigas at mapagaan ang pressure sa pagtaas ng mga pangunahing bilihin. Ang desisyon ay resulta ng malawak na konsultasyon sa mga stakeholders ng industriya ng bigas. Kabilang na po dyan ang mga importers at retailers upang masiguro na makikinabang ang mga mamimili.
Naglabas ng resolusyon ng COMELEC na nagpapahintulot sa mga law enforcement units na arestuhin ang mga vote buyers at sellers ng walang warrant kapag sila ay naaktuhang nagsasagawa ng iligal na aktibidad. Ibinaba ng COMELEC ang resolution number 11104 para palawigin ang kapangyarihan ng Committee on Contra Bigay ng poll body na subaybayan ang pagbili at pagbebenta ng boto ngayong paparating na halalan. Samantalang, mga materyales na ginamit sa vote buying o selling ay kukumpiskahin ng pulisya. Sa kabilang banda, nakapag-imprenta na ang COMELEC ng higit sa 10 milyong mga balota o 13% na po yan ng 72 million para sa May 12 polls. Kabilang sa 10 milyong balota ay mga election materials na nakalaan para sa 5 rehiyon kasama ang Bicol Region, Caraga Region at Batanes Province. Tiwala naman si COMELEC Chairperson George Garcia na matutugunan ng mga printers na matapos ang ballot printing para sa April 14 deadline.
Itinalaga ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. si Edwin Mercado bilang panibagong President at Chief Executive Officer ng PhilHealth bilang kapalit ni Emmanuel Ledesma. Nanumpa si Mercado ngayong araw na Martes sa Malacanang sa harap ni Pangulong Marcos. Ayon sa inilabas na pahayag ng Presidential Communications Office, si Mercado ay isang orthopedic surgeon na nakapagtapos ng kanyang training sa Estados Unidos. Nakapagtapos naman ng Doctor of Medicine si Mercado sa University of the Philippines noong taong 1988 at taong 2023 naman ay nakuha niya ang kanyang master's degrees in medical sciences sa global health delivery sa Harvard Medical School.
Kinumpirma ng Armed Forces of the Philippines Western Mindanao Command o WestMINCOM na mayroong 3 Chinese warships na pumasok sa loob ng territorial waters ng Pilipinas. Ayon sa WestMINCOM, namataan ang 3 People's Liberation Army Navy na naglalayag sa Mindoro Strait patungo sa Sulu Sea. Paglilinaw ni WestMINCOM Chief Lieutenant General Antonio Nafarete na ang transit ng mga vessels mula sa ibang bansa ay pinapayagan naman sa naturang katubigan. Pero binigyan diin ni Nafarete na walang diplomatic coordination ng China sa Pilipinas. Mabagal rin anya ang paglalayag ng mga barko ng China at naobserbahan ng WestMINCOM na nasa 4 to 5 knots ang bilis nito. Nag-dispatch na rin ang hukbo ng Philippine Navy ships para i-radio challenge ang mga Chinese vessels. Tumugo naman ang barko ng China at iginiit ang kanilang freedom of navigation at innocent passage. Sa kabila nito, tinukoy ng opisyales na hindi consistent ang pagkilos ng mga barko ng China sa ilalim ng Principles of Innocent Passage. Anya, para masabing napapaloob sa Principles of Innocent Passage ang isang barko, ay dapat tuloy-tuloy lamang ang paglalayag ng vessel sa isang archipelagic water at hindi dapat sila magtagal rito.
Nagsagawa ng bilateral air patrol ang hukbong panghimpapawid ng Pilipinas at Estados Unidos sa West Philippine Sea o WPS. 2 Philippine F-A-50 fighter aircraft at 2 US B-1B bombers ang sumali sa isang araw ng air drill sa WPS. Ayon po yan kay Philippine Air Force spokesperson Maria Consuelo Castillo. Lumipad anya ang mga aircraft na ito sa ibabaw ng Scarborough o Panatag Shoal na isa sa mga pinagtatalunang maritime features ng Pilipinas at ng China. Subalit, niliwanag naman ni Castillo na walang kinalaman na ang isinagawang bilateral air patrol sa anumang partikular na issue dahil ang air drills anya ay bahagi lamang ng usual training ng dalawang hukbo.
Sinabi ng Armed Forces of the Philippines o AFP na sinusubaybayan nito ang lahat ng mga developments tungkol sa Chinese Artificial Intelligence o AI model na DeepSeek. Ayon kay AFP spokesperson Colonel Francel Margaret Padilla, ginagawa ito ng militar bilang bahagi ng kanilang pagsisikap na pangalagaan ang pambansang seguridad ng Pilipinas. At kung sakaling ipagbawal ng gobyerno ang DeepSeek, sinabi ni Colonel Padilla na handa ang AFP na kumilos ng mabilis upang protektahan ang integridad ng mga critical infrastructure at information systems ng bansa.
Habang tinatalakay naman ng Pilipinas at ng Estados Unidos ang ilang mahahalagang kasunduang may kaugnayan sa maritime security and cooperation, sa gitna pa rin ng patuloy na tensyon sa West Philippine Sea o WPS, ay nagpahayag ng pagkabahala si Philippine Ambassador to the United States, Jose Manuel Romualdez, ukol sa mga potensyal na cyber attacks na tumatarget anya sa kanya. Sinabi ni Ambassador Romualdez na kinikilala niya ang pagiging sensitibo ng kanyang tungkulin at sa kanyang talumpati sa isang universidad sa Estados Unidos. Ikinuwento po niya na sa isang pagtitipon sa Malacanang ay natatawa niyang sinabi kay Chinese Ambassador to the Philippines, Wang Xilian, na ang kanyang telepono ay nahack at hindi na niya kayang bumili ng bagong cellphone. Anya, kahit ikinuwento niya ito ay natatawa kay Ambassador Wang, ay iginiit niya na seryosong bagay ito, lalo na at galing ang nasabing impormasyon sa American intelligence community. Ayon kay Romualdez, binanggit sa kanya ng kanyang mga kaibigan na isa siya sa mga target na mahack ang telepono. Itinanggi naman ng Chinese Embassy sa Pilipinas ang nasabing kwento. Nag-issue ito ng pahayag na matagal nang hindi nakikita sina Wang at Romualdez. Susunod, Yoon Suk-yeol muling humarap sa korte para sa impeachment trial. Elon Musk nais ipasara ang US aid. At 5 bansa sa Middle East tumanggi sa relocation proposal ni US President Donald Trump. Mga detalye po ng mga balita niyan at iba pang mga balita sa pagbabalik na Mata ng Agila International.
This portion is
ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka nang mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Mailalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa new era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Dumalo si Yon Suk-yeol sa ikalimang oral arguments para sa kanyang impeachment trial sa Constitutional Court. Tumestigo bilang witnesses ang dalawang dating military commander at isang opisyal ng ex-spy agency. Nagpatotoo sa harap ng mga mambabatas si Hanggang, isang dating deputy director ng National Intelligence Service. Sinabi niyang inutusan siyang arestuhin ang mga politiko, ngunit dati nang sinabi ni Yon na hindi raw ito totoo. Dinepensahan rin ni Yon at ng kanyang legal team ang martial law. Ayon kay Yon, ginawa niya ang hakbang na ito bilang babala para matapos na ang isang political deadlock sa South Korea. Bukod sa reklamong impeachment ay nahaharap din ang nasuspinding leader sa kasong insurrection. Samantala, may 180 araw ang pinakamataas na hukuman ng South Korea para pagpasyahan kung ibabalik kayo ng presidential seat. Kaugnay nito, kahit sobrang lamig ng paligid ay nagtungo pa rin ang mga taga-suporta niyon sa harap ng Constitutional Court upang hilingin na palayain na ang mga na-impeach na o ang na-impeach na presidente.
한국 가스를 위해서 전복 주사파에 의해서 대한민국이 지금 무너져 가는데요. 우리 모든 국민들이 깨어서 지금 다 함께 싸워야 될 때라고 생각을 합니다. 그래서 저는 모든 그 집회에 참여를 했는데요.
Pumanaw na po noong linggo si former Papua New Guinea Prime Minister Julius Chan sa edad na 85. Si Chan ang ikalawang Prime Minister ng bansa at ang kauna-unahang Finance Minister nito. Narito po ang karagdagang mga detalye mula kay Eco Ortalesa Quinola.
Isa si Prime Minister Julius Chan sa mga nagsulong ng mga adhikain at plataporma na ikinatamo ng kalayaan ng Papua New Guinea mula sa bansang Australia. Kinilala si Chan bilang trailblazer for the younger generation dahil sa kanyang hindi matatawarang dedikasyon at serbisyong pampubliko.
Honorable Julius Chan is a really extraordinary Papua New Guinean, given the fact that he contributed his life at a very early and productive stage.
I realized that he was a legend. I spent a few days with him. We went over to his house, and he actually built a hospital in the middle of nowhere.
Pinangunahan ng kasalukuyang administrasyon, Prime Minister James Marape, ang tribute at state funeral na isinagawa sa Parliament House. Dumagsa ang mga nakiramay sa pangunguna ng kanyang mga mahal sa buhay at kapartido sa People's Progress Party.
Even out of office or in office, perseverance, dedication, commitment, and service to PNG above self was sedulous. A character that depicts the Sumare generation, the sedulous generation.
Dadalhin ang mga labi ni Chan sa kanyang probinsya sa Caviang, New Ireland para doon ilibing. Mula sa Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, Eko Hortaleza Quinola para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
A renewed trade war has now begun. Matapos ang karagdagang 10% tariff ng Estados Unidos sa ilang produkto ng China, ilang minuto lamang ay sumagot agad ang Beijing. Inanunsyo ng Chinese Finance Ministry na sisingilin ito ng 15% tariff ang Estados Unidos para sa US coal at liquefied natural gas. Magpapataw rin nila sila ng 10% tariffs para sa US crude, kagamitan sa sakahan at ilang mga sasakyan. Magsisimulaan nila ito sa February 10 upang bigyan ng Washington at Beijing ng ilang oras para makapag-usap. Samantala, tiniyak ni EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen na handa ang kanilang grupo na makipagnegosasyon kay US President Donald Trump. Anya, gagawin ito ng EU upang protektahan ang sarili nitong mga interes laban sa banta ng pagtaas ng mga taripa sa kalakalan. Nais din anya ng EU na mag-focus sa pagpapalakas ng mga ugnayang pang-ekonomiya para sa mga Europeo. Kabilang narito ang pagkakaroon ng mga trabaho, maibaba ang mga presyo ng bilihin at palakasin ang seguridad sa Europa. Inamin ni von der Leyen na mahalaga ang ugnayan ng Europa at ng Estados Unidos para sa regional stability at global economy.
We will be ready for tough negotiations where needed and to find solutions where possible. To work out any grievances and to set the foundations for a stronger partnership. We will be open and pragmatic in how to achieve that. But we will make it equally clear that we will always protect our own interests, however and whenever that is needed.
Sinabi naman ni President Donald Trump na ihihinto ng Estados Unidos ang lahat ng pagpopondo nito sa South Africa. Hindi kasi nagustuhan ni Trump ang bagong expropriation law na nilagdaan ni South African President Cyril Ramaphosa na nagpapahintulot sa Estado na kunin ang pribadong lupain para sa pampublikong interes. May ilang senaryo pa na walang compensation o babayaran ang gobyerno ng South Africa sa taong pinagkunan nila ng lupa. Ayon kay Trump, isa itong genocide para sa mga white farmers na naninirahan doon.
Terrible things are happening in South Africa. The leadership is doing some terrible things, horrible things. So that's under investigation right now. We'll make a determination. And until such time as we find out what South Africa is doing, they're taking away land, they're confiscating land, and actually they're doing things that are perhaps far worse than that.
Sinabi ng bilyonaryong si Elon Musk na isasara na ang US Foreign Aid Agency na USAID. Si Musk ang hepe ng Department of Government Efficiency ni Trump na layong paliitin ang gastusin ng federal government ng Estados Unidos. Si Leo Velasco para sa Balita.
Inanunsyo ni Department of Government Efficiency Chief Elon Musk na malapit ng sarahan ng tuluyan ng USAID, isang ahensya ng gobyerno ang humahawak ng distribusyon ng foreign aid mula sa Estados Unidos. Nung Lunes sa isang email, sinabihan ng mga empleyado ng USAID na wag nang mag-report sa headquarters ng ahensya sa Washington at magtrabaho muna mula sa kani-kanilang mga bahay. Ayon sa email, makakatanggap sila ng muli ng karagdagang abiso sa mga darating na araw. Ang USAID ang pinakamalaking single donor ng mundo. Noong 2023, Namahagi ang US ng may $72 billion na assistance sa mundo bilang tulong sa iba't ibang bagay tulad ng kalusugan ng kababaihan at akses sa malinis na tubig sa conflict zones, gamot para sa HIV at AIDS, energy security at anti-corruption. At noong 2024, nagbigay ito ng 42% ng humanitarian aid na sinundan ng United Nations. Kamakailan, nag-utos si Pangulong Donald Trump ng global freeze sa halos lahat ng US foreign aid bilang bahagi ng America First policy ng administrasyon nito. Isang tuntunin na gumugulat sa marami sa mundo. Kasama sa mga programa ng funding freeze na nanganganib na tanggalin ay ang field hospitals sa Thai refugee camps, landmine clearance sa war zones at mga gamot para sa milyon-milyong may sakit. Samantala, umalma si Gwedi Mantashin ng South Africa sa funding freeze na ito ng US. Anya, kailangan labanan ang umano'y panunusong ito ng US.
I don't think we should be bullied by the United States because of the size of our country and our economy. And because they're a superpower, they just bully us around. We must resist that. You don't wake up one night and say, I'm cutting aid to African continent. It's very little in South Africa. For the AIDS program, for example, it is only 17% that come from the US. The rest is coming here. 76% of AIDS funding come from the fiscus of this country. So to be bullied around because there is a 17% from the US is unacceptable to us, and we must be treated with respect and be understood that we are a sovereign state. We are not a province of the United States. We are a sovereign state, and if there is an issue they want to raise with us, they must talk to us. We're engaged diplomatically. We take decision collectively. But bullying us should not be tolerated by us at any time.
Si Musk, na CEO ng Tesla at SpaceX, ang pinamuno ni Trump sa federal cost-cutting panel na ito. Leo Velasco para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Samantala, sumama naman ang mga demokratikong mambabatas ng Estados Unidos sa mga nagpo-protesta sa labas ng USAID headquarters sa Washington, D.C. Kontra ang mga ito sa planong pagsasara ng Trump administration sa Foreign Aid Agency. Rosel Feria po para sa detalye ng balitang yan.
Humarap sa mga demonstrador sa labas ng United States Agency for International Development o USAID offices sa kabisera ng Estados Unidos sina Representatives Gerald Connolly, Don Beyer at Jamie Raskin. Kasama nilang nakiisa sa protesta sina Senators Chris Van Hollen at Christopher Murphy. Ipinahayag kasi ni Department of Government Efficiency Elon Musk na umaaksyon na ang grupo nito upang sarahan ang ahensya. Ayon kay Representative Raskin ng Maryland, hindi ika-4 na sangay ng gobyerno si Musk.
And just like the president who is elected to something cannot impound the money of the people, we don't have a fourth branch of government called Elon Musk. And that's going to become real clear.
Sinabi naman ni Senator Holland ng Maryland din na walang kinalaman sa efficiency ng pamahalaan ang pagpuputol ng tulong mula sa Estados Unidos para sa mga iba't ibang ahensya na nakasandal dito.
So this has nothing to do with making the U.S. government more efficient and everything to do with aiding and abetting our adversaries around the world. If you doubt that for a moment, listen to what the former president and Putin crony Medvedev just put out on X. Quote, smart move by Elon Musk, referring to shutting down AID, former Russian president and stooge of Vladimir Putin. This is also a huge gift to the PRC.
Inuligsa naman ni Senator Murphy si Musk na anya'y umaaksyon para sa kanyang sarili lamang.
Elon Musk makes billions of dollars based off of his business with China. And China is cheering at this action today. There is no question that the billionaire class trying to take over our government right now is doing it based on self-interest. Their belief that if they can make us weaker in the world, if they can elevate their business partners all around the world, that they will gain the benefit. But there's another reason this is happening. They're shuttering agencies and sending employees home in order to create the illusion that they're saving money in order to do what? Pass a giant tax cut for billionaires and corporations.
Dagdag ni Representative Connolly ng Virginia, walang bumoto kay Musk para kalasin ang foreign aid agency na ito.
You name it, AID is there. In the fight against HIV, in the fight to protect the Uyghur population in China, in the fight to protect refugees, in the fight to make sure that there's food security everywhere. AID is there. It is the lead development agency in the world. And no one elected Elon Musk to dismantle it. We are going to fight in every way we can. In the courts, in public opinion, with the bully pulpit, in the halls of Congress, and here at AID itself.
Para kay Representative Omar ng Minnesota, ang pagtatanggal sa trabaho ng civil servants ay hindi matatawag na pagtitipid sapagkat nawawalan anya ng resources ang mga mamamayan.
We get to decide where money is allocated, and it's the executive's power to make sure that that money gets to where it needs to get. When we talk about civil servants being let go, what we are talking about is not saving money. It's essentially saying they can get paid while they're home and their work doesn't get done on behalf of the American people. It is us, taxpayers, who are being ripped off. It is us, taxpayers, who are not getting the resources that we paid into.
Ayon sa isang senior White House official, may posibilidad na pagsamahin ni Trump ang USAID at ang State Department. Rosel Feria para sa Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Sumali si British Prime Minister Keir Starmer sa isang impormal na pagpupulong ng mga lider ng European Union sa Brussels. Anya, nais niyang magkaroon ng progreso sa muling panimula ng relasyon ng United Kingdom at European Union.
Very important representing the United Kingdom on such an important issue. Obviously, it's a wider question of the reset between the EU and the UK, where we want to make progress, but starting with defence and security this evening is very, very important for our interests.
Tinalakay din sa nasabing pulong kung paano palalakasin ng Europa ang depensa ng kontinente nito laban sa Russia at kung paanong kakaharapin ang Trump tariffs. Sinabi ni Starmer na hindi pipili ang United Kingdom sa pagitan ng Estados Unidos at ng EU, sa halip ay binigyan din ito na mahalagang magtulungan ang bawat isa para sa kalakalan at seguridad.
Nagprotesta sa iba't ibang bahagi ng Estados Unidos ang migrants laban sa immigration crackdown ng administrasyon ni Pangulong Donald Trump. Layo ng kampanyang A Day Without Migrants na kondinahin ang planong mass deportation ni Trump. Anila, kritikal ang kontribusyon ng immigrant labor sa iba't ibang industriya sa Estados Unidos. Umaasa ang mga nasa protesta na mabigyang atensyon ang pinagdaraanan ngayon ng immigrant communities sa ilalim ng administrasyong Trump. Para naman sa mga anak ng undocumented migrants katulad ni Melanie, sila ang boses ng kanilang mga magulang.
Have undocumented parents, and us knowing our roots and our parents always telling us about our culture. They always have told us to be their voice because they have to stay quiet over stuff that goes on in the world. But we, being U.S. citizens, we have always had the right to speak up on our rights.
Sinama ni Melanie ang kanyang 15 taong gulang na kapatid na si Eduardo sa isang protesta na malapit sa Trump Tower sa Chicago. Inisa-isa ni Melanie kung gaano kahalaga ang mga migrante sa mga komunidad.
On the other side, I have immigrants built America because who's the one who does your crops? It's immigrants. They're the ones in the fields. Who picks up your trash? It's immigrants. They're the ones that are cleaning out the offices, the bathrooms, everywhere you work. They're the ones that clean up. They're not the ones that are sitting in an office desk doing paperwork. They're the ones behind everything.
Sa mga lungsod ng US, katulad ng Chicago, marami nakaplanong pro-immigrant protests. Anila ito ay upang tugunan ang takot at pangamba sa immigrant communities.
They told us no school, no shopping, don't go to work. We're like, okay, you know what? I told my brothers not to go to school, and I told them you're gonna come with me and we're gonna protest, so here we are right now.
Sinabi ni US President Donald Trump na gusto niya mag-supply ang Ukraine ng rare earth minerals sa Estados Unidos. Kabayaran anya ito ng Kyiv para sa pinansyal na suporta ng Washington sa pakikidigma ng Ukraine sa Russia.
We're telling Ukraine they have very valuable rare earth. We want what we put up to go in terms of a guarantee. We want a guarantee. We're handing them money hand over fist. We're giving them equipment. European is not keeping up with us. They should equalize. Look, we have an ocean in between. They don't. It's more important for them than it is for us. But they're way below us in terms of money. And they should be paying at least equal. They should really be paying much more than us. But let's say equal to us. And they're billions and billions of dollars below. So we're looking to do a deal with Ukraine where they're going to secure what we're giving them with their rare earth and other things.
Naniniwala naman ang Kremlin na ang pakikipagnegosasyon ng Washington sa gobyerno ni Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky para sa paggamit ng rare earth metals o minerals ay nagpapakita lamang na nais ni Trump na magbayad ang Kyiv sa halip na makakuha ito ng libreng tulong mula sa Estados Unidos.
Если называть вещи своими именами, это предложение покупать помощь. Покупать помощь, то есть не продолжать ее оказывать на безвозмездной или иной основе, а именно обеспечивать ее на коммерческой основе. Лучше, конечно, вообще не оказывать помощь и тем самым способствовать завершению этого конфликта.
Hiniling ni U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio na agarang gumawa ng mga pagbabago ang Panama dahil sa umano'y impluensya at kontrol ng China sa Panama Canal. Binalaan ni Rubio na dapat nang umaksyon ng Panama at kung hindi ay Estados Unidos na ang gagawa ng mga kinakailangang hakbang upang protektahan ang mga karapatan nito sa ilalim ng isang kasunduan sa pagitan ng dalawang bansa. Para naman kay US President Donald Trump, nilabag ng Panama ang kasunduan nito sa Estados Unidos at ang China na anya ang siyang nagpapatakbo ng Panama Canal. Tiniyak din ni Trump na hindi na kailangan na magpadala ng mga sundalo ang US sa Panama pero hindi anya papayag ang Estados Unidos na ang China ang magmay-ari sa Panama Canal.
Secretary of State Rubio is in Panama right now, and we're talking about the Panama Canal. What they've done is terrible. They violated the agreement. They're not allowed to violate the agreement. China's running the Panama Canal. That was not given to China. That was given to Panama foolishly. But they violated the agreement, and we're going to take it back or something very powerful is going to happen. I don't think troops will be necessary in Panama. What Panama has done is terrible for national security for this part of the world. And, 70% of the signage on the Panama Canal was written in Chinese. That's not right. So it wasn't meant for China. It should have never been made. The deal was a ridiculous deal. We lost 38,000 people building the Panama Canal, one of the great wonders of the world. 38, think of it, 38. It was the most expensive project ever built by this country, if you take it forward. The most expensive project ever built. We lost 38,000. And what happens? China owns it all of a sudden? It's not going to happen. We're not going to let that happen. We have national security concerns, and they wouldn't let it happen either.
Una nang nangako ang Pangulo ng Panama na si Jose Raul Molino na siya ay nagbigay ng mungkahi kay President Trump na magsagawa sila ng technical level talks upang talakayin ang issue ng US sa sinasabi nitong impluensya ng China sa Panama Canal.
Tinanggihan ng foreign ministers ng 5 bansa sa gitnang silangan ang suhestyon ni US President Donald Trump ukol sa relokasyon ng Palestinians mula sa Gaza. Alamin po natin ang mga detalye sa pagbabalik ni Rosel Feria.
Noong Sabado, hindi sumang-ayon ang 5 Arab countries sa panukala ni Pangulong Donald Trump ng US na i-relocate ang Palestinians ng Gaza papuntang Egypt at Jordan. Nagpulong ang foreign ministers ng Egypt, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Qatar at UAE kasama ang mga kinatawan ng Gaza at ang Secretary General ng Arab League sa Cairo noong Sabado. Nanawagan ang mga ito sa international community na magkaisa sa pagpapabilis ng reconstruction ng Gaza. Binigyang diin din ng mga ito na dapat tiyakin ng anumang reconstruction plan na mananatili ang Palestinians sa kanilang lupain. Hindi man binanggit sa Cairo meeting ang bansang Estados Unidos sa huling pahayag nito, malinaw na ito ay tugon sa suhestyon ni Trump na tanggapin ng Egypt at Jordan ang Palestinians mula Gaza.
The meeting switched the rejection of relocating Palestinians from an Egyptian Jordanian stance into a joint Arab stance. This sends an important message to everyone concerned with the issue, that the only way to resolve this crisis is through peace. It's a clear response to Trump and his references to use aid as pressure.
Nagbabala si Qatari Prime Minister na ang panawagan ukol sa persahang paglikas ay maaaring mag-meet siyang muli ng karahasan sa mga okupadong teritoryo. Nagkaisang tumanggi ang Egypt, Jordan, Saudi Arabia at UAE sa anumang planong mag-aalis ng karapatan sa Palestinians sa kanilang lugar. Kabilang sa tinanggihan ng mga ito ang pagtatayo ng Israeli settlements, pagdurugtong ng karagdagang teritoryo, pagtiwalag sa Palestinians mula sa kahit anong rehiyon, ni ang pagwasak sa mga tahanan nito. Sinabi rin ng Arab foreign ministers na hindi mapapalitan ang UN Palestinian Refugee Agency na UNRWA. Binigyang diin din ng mga ito ang kanilang paninindigan na ang tanging solusyon sa kaguluhan sa Israel at Gaza ay ang pagtatatag ng 2 estado. Samantala, tinanggap din ng mga ito ang plano ng Egypt na mag-co-host ng International Forum para sa muling pagtatayo sa Gaza.
The Arab meeting was followed by a phone call between President Trump and President El-Sisi. They confirmed that there is an Egyptian-US will to resolve this crisis. El-Sisi's rejection of the forced migration of Palestinians was followed by a popular rally in Rafah to support his stance. All of this benefits the citizens of Gaza by rejecting their displacement and calling for reconstruction.
Rosel Feria para sa Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Ibinida ng Estados Unidos o US Navy ang bago nitong sandata na high laser with integrated optical dazzler and surveillance o Helios system. Ang bagong armas na ito ay kayang-kayang magpabagsak ng drone. Ito ay dinevelop ng Lockheed Martin noong taong 2021 pa at ibinigay lamang sa US Navy noong 2022. Ang laser nito ay idinisenyo para sa i-counter-strike ang mga maliliit na bangka at mga missiles. Kaya rin itong i-disrupt ang intelligence at reconnaissance sensors ng mga kalaban.
Isang source mula sa Political Bureau ng Hamas ang nagsabing handa na ang Hamas na makipag-usap sa Israel para sa second phase ng ceasefire at isang potensyal na prisoner for hostage exchange. Anya, magsisimula dapat ang negosasyon sa ika-16 na araw ng Phase 1 o nitong nakaraang Lunes. Subalit, dahil nagpunta sa Washington si Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at nakipagkita kay US President Donald Trump, ay posible nagpa siya si Netanyahu na i-delay ang second phase ng ceasefire agreement.
Samantala, dumating na sa Saudi Arabia si Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara para makapulong si Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Ito ang kauna-unahang foreign trip ni al-Shara matapos na italaga siya ng transitional government. Paglapag ng kanyang eroplano sa King Khalid International Airport sa Riyadh, ay sinalubong siya ni Deputy Governor of the Riyadh Region Prince Mohammed bin Abdulrahman bin Abdulaziz. Isa sa mga tinalakay ay ang kahandaan ng Saudi Arabia na mapalakas ang enerhiya, teknolohiya, education at kalusugan sa Syria. Nangako naman si al-Shara na nais nitong gumawa ng coalition government na magre-representa sa lahat ng sektor ng Damascus.
سنعمل على تشكيل حكومة انتقالية شاملة لله رب العالمين.
Kasi Handa ring makipagtulungan ng Crown Prince ng Saudi Arabia para sa muling pagbangon ng Syria.
تعبر عن تنوع سوريا برجالها ونسائها وشبابها الحمد لله رب العالمين.
Susunod, elepante sa India inatake ang isang excavator.
Estados Unidos nagdeklara ng 30-day suspension para sa taripang ipapataw sa Canada at Mexico.
At alamin natin ang mga paghahanda para sa Asian Winter Games ngayong taon. Yan at iba pang mga balita sa pagbabalik ng mata ng Agila International.
Kahit tagilid ang image ni Elaine, todo pa rin ang support ni Gino.
Mas mabuting bitaw mo na si Elaine Chen. Pinangako ko kay Jessica na hindi siya maalis. Gagawin ko yun.
Pero kahit nagiging close na ulit sina Gino at Jessica.
Hanggat hindi pa kayo tunay na magkarelasyon ni Gino, hindi ako susuko.
Hello, my shining love. Weeknights, 9 p.m. on NET25.
We reached the point of no return.
Mga kwento sa likod ng balita, bubusisiin.
Meron po ba kayong nalalaman tungkol dito sa assassination plot naman po laban sa pamilya Duterte?
Is that normal na yung SDO naubaya yung ganyang kalaking pera po sa security officer?
ASPN. Ano sa palagay nyo? Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 8 hanggang alas 10 ng umaga, dito lang sa NET25.
Together sa NET25. Sa NET25.
Isa namang galit na elepante ang bigla na lamang sumugod at nanuwag ng isang excavator sa India. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, ginalit umano ng driver ng excavator ang hayop habang naghahanap ito ng kanyang makakain. Nagtamo naman ang pinsala sa katawan ng elepante dahil sa lakas ng impact ng pag-atake nito sa excavator. Inaresto ng pulis ang driver at napag-alaman nilang hindi naman pala pinahintulutan itong mag-operate sa gubat. Kinumpiska rin ng mga pulis ang naturang excavator bilang bahagi ng kanilang investigasyon.
Nako, ito isang malaking sawa naman ang nahuli sa isang kanal sa India. Kita sa video na matapang na hinila ng isang lalaki ang bundot ng sawa mula sa tubig. Nang maiahon na ng lalaki ang sawa, ay mapapansin na mabilis na nakaiwas ito sa pag-atake ng hayop. At dahil sa nakamamanghang kilos ng lalaki sa video, ay umani ito ng maraming views sa social media. Sa kabila nito, marami ang nabahala para sa kaligtasan ng lalaki at ng sawa na rin.
At sa India pa rin po, 7 katao ang patay habang nasakta naman ang 35 iba pa matapos mahulog ang isang bus sa bangin sa Gujarat, India. Ang sa Gujarat Police, naganap ang insidente bandang 4:15 ng umaga. Pinaniniwala ang nawala ng kontrol ang driver sa minamaneho nitong bus. Nasa 48 pasahero ang sakay ng bus bago ito mahulog sa bangin.
Patay naman ang 4 katao matapos pagbabarili ng mga armadong lalaki sa isang bar sa southern Mexican state ng Tabasco. Batay sa police report, linggo ng gabi nang pumasok ang mga armadong lalaki at binarilang 3 pinaniniwala ang target nila. Nadamay naman sa pamamarilang empleyado ng bar. Sinunog din ang mga salarin ng lugar bago umalis ang mga ito. Patuloy naman ang investigasyon ng pulisya sa pamamaril.
Napigilan pansamantala ang isang trade war sa pagitan ng Estados Unidos at ng mga kalapit bansa nito sa North America. Narito po si JC Yumol para sa pinakahuling development sa planong pagpapataw ng 25% taripa ni US President Donald Trump sa Mexico at sa Canada.
Tila nakahinga ng maayos ang mga residente ng Hilagang Amerika matapos magkasundo ang mga leader ng US, Mexico at Canada na pigilan muna ang labanan ng taripa sa loob ng 30 araw, hindi pa man ito nagsisimula. Ito ay matapos mag-usap muna ni US President Donald Trump at Mexico President Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo. Inilarawan ni Trump kung paano nagkasundo sila ni Sheinbaum.
With Mexico, we had a great talk with Mexico. And we had President Sheinbaum is a woman. I like her very much. We've had good relationships, but we have to stop fentanyl from coming in, whether I like somebody or not, and we have to stop the illegal aliens from coming in. I think we've lost 200,000 people on average a year for many years, much higher than the 100,000. Could be even closer to 300,000. And they've agreed to put in 10,000 soldiers permanently, like forever, 10,000 soldiers at their side of the border and stop fentanyl and illegal aliens from coming into our country. They have a big incentive to do. Other than that, we've agreed to talk and consider various other things. We haven't agreed on tariffs yet.
Kinumpirma ito ni Sheinbaum sa kanyang social media post na kapwa sila sumang-ayon ni Trump na ihinto ng 1 buwan ang mga dagdag taripa. Samantala, kawangis na kasunduan naman ang narating nina Trump at Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Ipinost din ng Canadian leader ang mensahe na nakatigil muna ang mga taripa ng 30 araw habang magtutulungan muna ang US at Canada. Kumapit ang kasunduan sa pagpayag ng Canada at Mexico na magpadala ng puwersa sa US border ng mga ito upang labanan hindi lamang ang illegal na pagpasok sa US ng mga migrante, kundi pati ng fentanyl. Ang fentanyl ay isang synthetic opioid na labis na nakamamatay kung gagamitin ng hindi tama. Isinisisi ng administrasyon ni Trump sa Mexico at Canada ang talamak na pagpasok sa US ng drogang ito. JC Yumol para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Ipinahayag ng United Nations ang pangamba nito ukol sa lumalaking trade restrictions sa mundo. Ayon sa ahensya, malaki ang epekto ng mga ito, lalong-lalo na sa mga mahihinang populasyon. Si Marjorie Quintos para sa report.
Ayon kay United Nations spokesperson Stefan Dujarric, ikinababahala ng ahensya ang mga epekto ng nagbabadyang karagdagang trade restrictions sa mga bansang developing at sa mga lugar kung saan mahina ang mga mamamayan o vulnerable population.
We're obviously concerned about the impact growing trade restriction measures can have on the global economy, particularly in developing and developing countries and in places where there are vulnerable population. I mean, as you know, the global economy is already in a low growth context. While trade restrictions we see are on the rise, it's important to note that most global trade continues to follow internationally agreed to rules by the World Trade Organization, which provides stability and certainty for the global economy.
Samantala, kaugnay naman ng foreign aid freeze, sinabi ni Dujarric na may agarang epekto ito sa mga gawaing nakapagsasalba ng maraming buhay.
We are in touch with our various agencies on the ground. Some of this is having immediate impact on life-saving activities. I mean, as you know, the U.S. has been extremely generous to our humanitarian programs all over the world. I think the figure for 2024 is that the U.S. contributed 47% of the global humanitarian appeal, which amounts up to about $14 billion. There's obviously a lot of U.S. participation in development issues. We are trying to kind of get some more granular examples of the impact to be able to share with you.
Noong Lunes, inanunsyo ng Administrasyong Trump ang planong sarhan ang United States Agency for International Development, isang ahensyang humahawak ng distribusyon ng bilyon-bilyong global aid mula sa Estados Unidos. Marjorie Quintos para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Ito naman po, kayo ba sumasakit ng inyong mga kasukasuan kapag umaakyat ng maraming hagdan? Ay aba, mabibilib kayo rito sa kakaibang exosuit na inihahanda ng bansang China. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, ang exoskeleton na ito ay isang assistive robot na dinisenyo upang matulungan ang mga turistang umakyat sa Mount Tai sa China. Sinasabing maaari itong magamit sa ibang mga fields katulad ng fitness, pagtakbo at maging sa paglalakad. Nilagyan din ang robot ng advanced ergonomic design, core technologies at artificial intelligence or AI algorithms para umalalay sa galaw ng lower limbs na gumagamit ito. May timbang na halos 1.8 kilograms ang robot, gayon din na 50 nanometer maximum motion assistance para epektibong mapawasan ang sakit sa mga binti ng mga turista sa pag-akyat ng mga ito sa bawat baitang ng hagdanan.
Nais alamin ng Information Privacy Watchdog ng South Korea kung paano pinangangalagaan ng tech giant na DeepSeek ang personal information ng mga users nito. Nababahala kasi ang ilang artificial intelligence experts kung paano pinamamahalaan ng DeepSeek ang mga impormasyon ng users nito dahil maaari raw mahak ang profiles ng mga users. Tinitignan din ng mga otoridad sa France, Italy at Ireland at iba pang mga bansa kung paano ginagamit ng DeepSeek ang personal data ng mga tao.
Inatasan ni US President Donald Trump ang kanyang administrasyon na gumawa ng Sovereign Wealth Fund. Pwede anya itong gamitin ng gobyerno para bilhin ang TikTok. Hindi nagbigay ng iba pang detalye sa Trump pero ayon sa mga analysts, ginagamit ang Sovereign Wealth Fund para sa mga investments ng isang estado. Ang pagbuo nga lamang nito ay nangangailangan ng congressional approval. Ilan sa mga potential buyers ng TikTok ay sina Mr. Beast at Elon Musk. At dahil malapit na ang Winter Asian Games ay naghahanda na ang Chinese short track speed skating team para sumabak sa torneo. Matapos ang ISU Short Track World Tour ay isasagawa naman sa February 7 na hanggang 14 sa Harbin City ang pang-siyam na edisyon ng nasabing palaro. Batay sa competition schedule, inaasahang itatanghal ang unang gold medal ng Asian Winter Games sa February 8. Ang unang event kasi na isasagawa para sa palaro ay ang Short Track Speed Skating Mixed Team Relay at Freestyle Skiing U-Shaped Venue Skills Event. Ito rin po ang unang beses na isasagawa ang speed skating event bilang palaro sa Winter Games. Ayon sa organizers ng palaro, mayroong 6 na sports, 11 disciplines at 64 events na isasagawa ngayong taon. Ito na rin ang pangatlong beses na ang China ang magiging host country ng nasabing palaro.
Tuloy na nga po ang kauna-unahang pagtatanghal ng BINI sa Philippine Arena. Inilabas na rin ang sinasabing kauna-unahang solo P-pop at Pinoy act ang kanilang official poster para sa upcoming Biniverse World Tour. Tuwang-tuwa mga blooms ang makita sina Mika, Aya, Colette, Maloy, Gwen, Stacy, Joanna at Sheena. Hindi na rin makatulog ang marami dahil sa pinakaabangang pagbubukas at kick-off ng Biniverse World Tour ng BINI ay sa February 15, 2025. Tampok din sa nasabing concert si OPM rising star at singer-songwriter Maki.
Ikaw ba nakakatulog ka na? Nakakatulog ka pa ba?
Oo nga. But I was about to say, proud na proud ako dyan sa BINI. No? Nakakatuwa kasi, di ba, Pinoy, tapos nagkakaroon ng global acclaim.
World tour
Oo,
pa, di ba? At syempre si Maki din, di ba? Naging guest na rin natin yan sa Philippine Arena.
Tama.
Talaga namang pinagkaguluhan ng daigdig. Ayan. At huwag niyo po kami nga asahan ng kakanta ng salamin dahil nakapink tayo kamatch
Magmuna,
natin.
ayaw naman kasi namin i-preempt yung performance ng BINI sa kanilang Biniverse World Tour.
Hindi, kasi kamatch natin kanina yung mga BINI girls.
Diba?
Ayan.
Blooming din tayo, katulad mga fans nila na bloom.
Dapat po lagi tayong mag-stay blooming. Dapat laging positive lang.
Yes.
At tandaan na, narito kami para maghatid ng balita sa amang dako ng mundo. Magandang gabi po muli. Ako po muli si Ricky Matay.
Ako si Nina Richie Alago Flores. Ito po ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman po sa iba pang mga balitang nanggaling din sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta tayo kay Alma Angeles para sa mata ng Agila World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina and Ricky. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for NET25 World News. On tonight's headlines. A last-second breakthrough in the global trade war. The clock was ticking, markets were bracing, and then came the truce. But hold on, this story is far from over. As Elon Musk shakes up Washington and trade talks with Canada and Mexico hit the pause button.
We had President Scheinbaum is a woman. I like her very much. We've had good relationships, but we have to stop fentanyl from coming in, whether I like somebody or not, and we have to stop the illegal aliens. I also spoke with Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada, and we had a good talk in the morning, but I did ask him a couple of questions, like, banks aren't allowed to do business in Canada. Canada is very tough.
But there's a major breaking news on the China front. At midnight, American tariffs slammed into place, a 10% hit on the Chinese imports. And Beijing's revenge, lightning fast. Within minutes, China fired back, targeting American energy, hitting U.S. coal and gas with 15% tariffs. They didn't stop there, slapping new duties on everything from crude oil to tractors.
On this issue, we have repeatedly expressed China's position. We always believe that there are no winners in trade wars and tariffs.
And the news starts now. China swiftly retaliated against new U.S. tariffs today, announcing duties on American coal, gas, and other goods, just minutes after U.S. levies on Chinese imports took effect. The tit-for-tat response marks a sharp escalation in trade tensions between the world's largest economies, triggered by President Trump's demands that China halt the flow of fentanyl precursors to the U.S.
U.S. tariffs on China are now in effect, with an additional 10% duty placed on all their goods from 1 minute past midnight on Tuesday. China retaliated within minutes, with its finance ministry announcing it will apply a 15% tariff on U.S. coal and liquefied natural gas on February 10th, as well as an additional 10% on crude oil, farm equipment, and some vehicles. A White House spokesperson had said Monday that President Donald Trump will be speaking with Chinese leader Xi Jinping in the next couple of days, as the world's two largest economies seek a deal that could avert a broader trade war and avoid a deepening conflict. The call would be Trump and Xi's first known talks since Trump took office on January 20th. On Saturday, Trump ordered sweeping tariffs on goods not only from China, but also Mexico and Canada. Part of demands they stop the flow of illegal fentanyl, a leading cause of drug overdoses in the US. Trump backed away from his tariff threat against Mexico and Canada on Monday after speaking to leaders of both countries. Before China's Lunar New Year holiday, a foreign ministry spokesperson insisted that Beijing has always firmly safeguarded its national interests, but signaled an openness to talks.
On this issue, we have repeatedly expressed China's position. We always believe that there are no winners in trade wars and tariffs.
On Monday, Trump threatened to further ramp up tariffs on China. He described Tuesday's tariffs as an opening salvo. During his campaign for the presidency, Trump had promised a steeper levy of 60% on Chinese goods. The US has said China is the primary source of the precursor chemicals synthesized into fentanyl by drug cartels in Mexico.
We don't want fentanyl coming into our country. Now, we had another big thing, speaking of China. China's involved with the Panama Canal. They won't be for long. And that's the way it has to be.
So the roadmap of tariffs moving forward is we expect that the U.S. will continue to put tariffs on most countries that they have a trade deficit with, particularly large. Think of the European Union, where the U.S. has a trade deficit with. Think of Vietnam, Thailand, these countries, Australia to some degree. And part of that is because the U.S. feels taken advantage of. They are taking our resources and our money, but not necessarily treating us in a fair way. Some of that is market access. Others are just the fact of fentanyl. Right? The U.S. is really unhappy with the fentanyl use because it's killing Americans. And so we're at the point now where the Trump administration feels emboldened to actually do something about it.
China has called fentanyl America's problem and said it would challenge the tariffs at the World Trade Organization.
Now, China has announced a series of retaliatory measures targeting American businesses, and that includes Google, agricultural equipment manufacturers, and PVH Corp, the parent company of Calvin Klein. Now, these actions came immediately following the implementation of new U.S. tariffs on Chinese imports. Take a look.
China on Tuesday announced a wide range of measures targeting U.S. businesses, including Google, as well as farm equipment makers and fashion brand Calvin Klein's owner. The news came minutes after additional U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods took effect. The measures were announced as Beijing also slapped tariffs on some U.S. products such as coal and gas. It was something of a rapid response to the new duties on Chinese goods imposed by Donald Trump and marks escalating trade tensions between the world's two biggest economies. China's Commerce Ministry said it put PVH Corp, the holding company for brands including Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger, and US biotechnology firm Illumina on its unreliable entity list. Companies added to the blacklist can be subject to fines and a range of other sanctions. These include a freeze on trade and revocation of work permits for foreign staff. Separately, China's State Administration of Market Regulation said Google was suspected of violating the country's anti-monopoly law and said it initiated an investigation into the company in accordance with the law. Google products, such as its search engine, are blocked in China, but it works with local partners such as advertisers in the country. Google, PVH and Illumina did not immediately respond to requests for comment outside regular US business hours.
Are we on the verge of another trade war? Markets took a dive yesterday when President Trump announced new tariffs on imports from Canada, Mexico, and China. But then he hit the pause on Mexico and Canada for now, giving Wall Street a breather. And now Europe is bracing for impact after President Trump said that the EU is next, calling its trade policies an atrocity. How is Europe planning to respond? And what happens if tariffs hit? The European Union sends billions of dollars worth of goods to the U.S., from machinery and chemicals to cars. But could that trade be in jeopardy? Trump says he's ready to act.
It will definitely happen with the European Union, I can tell you that, because they've really taken advantage of us. And, you know, we have over a $300 billion deficit. They don't take our cars, they don't take our farm products, they take almost nothing. And we take everything from them, millions of cars, tremendous amounts of food and farm products. So the UK is way out of line, and we'll see the UK, but European Union is really out of line. UK is out of line, but I'm sure that one, I think that one can be worked out. But the European Union it's an atrocity, what they've done.
But Brussels isn't buying it. EU leaders insist there's no major trade imbalance and are urging caution.
What is clear, there are no winners in trade wars. If United States and the US start the trade war, then the one laughing on the side is China. We are very interlinked. We need America, and America needs us as well. The tariffs increase costs. They are not good for the jobs, not good for the customers either. That is clear.
When targeted, unfairly or arbitrarily, the European Union will respond firmly. This weekend, we witnessed how steep tariffs were imposed on Canada and Mexico. Those tariffs raise business costs, they harm workers and consumers, they create unnecessary economic disruption and drive inflation. We do not see much good coming out of this. So we prioritize productive discussions and engage early. At the same time, the European Union remains also steadfast in its multilateral commitments, be it from our development aid to our climate targets.
So will Europe fight back? Some leaders say they're ready.
Both the US and Europe benefit from the exchange of goods and services. If customs policy now makes this difficult, it would be bad for the US and bad for Europe. It is clear that as a strong economic area, we can organize things ourselves and can also react to customs policies with customs policies. That is what we must and will do. But the perspective and the goal should be that we proceed in such a way that it amounts to cooperation.
It's simple. We think the priority is the strategic agenda and the security of our borders. If we are attacked on trade topics, as a power that holds, Europe has to make itself respected and react.
If during the time of this direct Russian threat and Chinese expansion and all these very dangerous things that we will, try to look for and find a reason to be in conflict among allies. I think that we have to do everything to avoid this totally unnecessary and stupid tariff wars or trade wars.
But not everyone wants to escalate the situation. Some leaders believe diplomacy is the way forward.
We have to switch to positive economic agenda with United States. We have to buy more LNG from United States, like my country does. We buy about 52% of our total request for LNG from United States, in such a way diversifying energy resources, and we are less dependent on the Russian LNG. And of course, other possible cooperation with United States, procurement of military equipment from United States would be the matter which creates a constructive and not destructive economic agenda. So I think those are the issues, and we have to discuss it very seriously, because the time is running and time is not is very precious asset.
Could this all blow over? Some analysts think Trump's trade strategy might create so much economic turmoil.
So if the US imposes tariffs on the EU, the big question is what the EU will do in response. If the EU imposes tariffs on the US as well, the implication for the EU economy will potentially be significant, with weaker growth and higher inflation. Being an important trading partner for the UK, that will have implication on the UK as well, because if you have a weaker market there, exports to the EU from the UK will be affected as a result. We'll find it harder to export to the US if our products are going to cost more. And if we're going to retaliate here in the UK, we will also find that our import costs from the US are going to be higher, and that would feed into higher inflation here as well. Some economies will benefit as a result of that trade being diverted or them having an advantage because their products will be comparatively cheaper as a result. But it's very hard to tell at the moment what the net impact is going to be until you know what the full scale of the tariff war is going to shape up to be.
We've seen this before, U.S. tariffs on EU steel and aluminum, Europe heading back with taxes on whiskey and motorcycles, and those disputes were settled. But this time, the stakes could be even higher. U.S. President Donald Trump has hit the pause button on his plan to impose tariffs on Canadian and Mexican goods exported to his country. Now, Trump has planned to impose a steep 25% tariff beginning today, but backed off at the last minute. Thomas I. Likeness for more.
The 30-day delay came after Trump spoke with the leaders of Canada and Mexico. Trump says Prime Minister Justin Trudeau promised to deploy new technology and personnel along the Canada-U.S. border to stop the flow of fentanyl. Hours earlier, Trump paused the tariffs on Mexico after Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum agreed to send 10,000 National Guard troops to the border to stem the flow of drugs.
And they've agreed to put in 10,000 soldiers permanently, like forever, 10,000 soldiers at their side of the border and stop fentanyl and illegal aliens from coming into our country. They have a big incentive to do. Other than that, we've agreed to talk and consider various other things. We haven't agreed on tariffs yet.
She says the agreement also includes a commitment to prevent trafficking of high-powered weapons in Mexico.
I told him we wanted him to pause the tariffs, so we reached that agreement. But I also explained to him that the amounts of high-potency weapons that enter from the United States into Mexico is a serious issue. He asked me how long I wanted to pause tariffs. I said forever. He told me, how much time? I told him a month. But I'm sure that during this month, we'll be able to deliver good results for his people and the people of Mexico.
Trump says the month-long suspension will be used to engage further negotiations. The tariffs have been unpopular in both Canada and Mexico, and many Americans fear them as well. They're beginning to realize that Trump's trade war is going to hit them in the pocketbook. Alicia Hale owns a beauty supply shop in Georgia, and she says tariffs will hurt average Americans.
You know, a lot of poor people think that Trump is the answer, but they're going to quickly come to realize that, you know, you voted for him thinking that the price of eggs are going to go down, and what we're going to see is an increase in everything, including stress.
Hale says small businesses will be hurt because people are buying less, and that ultimately could lead to job losses. Hale says it's time for people to stand up for themselves.
I just hope that the American people can rally for what's right and not allow the 1% to continue to drill holes, not only in our livelihood, but in our health and our social activities.
Small business owner Jalea Hemmings is also concerned about the prospect of rising prices.
Of course, we're nervous. We're hoping that this doesn't last long and that they can come to some form of a resolve because, you know, as a small business, we do get hit the hardest.
The threat of tariffs has also taken a toll on American stock markets, although Monday's losses have been tempered by Trump's delay in implementing the surcharges. For now, though, Americans and those who export their goods to them remain anxious, waiting to see how this trade dispute is going to play out. Thomas I. Likeness, NET25 World News.
Tonight, the spotlight is on the influential alliance between Trump and Musk as they drive efforts to reshape federal agencies and overhaul government spending. Now, this partnership has already led to dramatic actions, including the Trump administration's decision to lock employees of the U.S. Agency for International Development, or USAID, out of their Washington, D.C. headquarters for a second day today as part of a plan to close the agency. Now, in response, 2 Democratic senators have pledged to block the confirmation of State Department nominees in protests, signaling a deepening political clash over the future of federal institutions. Take a look.
Furloughed employees and contractors protested in front of the USAID headquarters after the Trump administration on Monday moved to shut down the agency. Employees have been locked out of its headquarters since Trump ordered a freeze on most US foreign aid hours after taking office. USAID distributes billions of dollars of humanitarian aid around the world. However, Trump has said he wants to ensure it aligns with his America First policy. USAID provided 42% of all humanitarian aid tracked by the United Nations in 2024 and accounts for less than 1% of the total United States budget. Billionaire Elon Musk has had the agency in his sights for closure and is tasked with downsizing the federal government.
There are lots of reasons to care about U.S. development and humanitarian policy, but its relative size as a share of the budget is not one of them. So there can always be improvements and reforms for effectiveness and efficiency, but it wouldn't make, the priority list in looking at programs across the U.S. government if that's your intent in terms of cost savings. It's hard to quite wrap my head around why it's such a target, but USAID packs a punch, really, for the amount that it spends of U.S. taxpayer dollars. It has a big impact around the world, and it's not viewed favorably by a number of leaders in the current administration. That said, it's historically had a lot of bipartisan support.
A senior White House official speaking anonymously said Trump was considering merging USAID into the State Department and had entrusted Elon to oversee the efficiency of this agency.
So this has nothing to do with making the U.S. government more efficient.
Democratic lawmakers stood with protesters in front of USAID headquarters on Monday. Speaking to reporters, Senators Brian Schatz and Chris Van Hollen said they planned to block confirmation of Trump nominees for State Department positions in retaliation, while House Rep Gerald Connolly from Virginia laid out the agency's impact.
It is the lead development agency in the world, and no one elected Elon Musk to dismantle it. We are going to fight in every way we can, in the courts, in public opinion, with the bully pulpit, in the halls of Congress, and here at AID itself.
Just like the president who is elected to something cannot impound the money of the people, we don't have a fourth branch of government called Elon Musk. And that's going to become real clear.
Elon Musk makes billions of dollars based off of his business with China. And China is cheering at this action today. There is no question that the billionaire class trying to take over our government right now is doing it based on self-interest.
US Secretary of State Marco Rubio told reporters in San Salvador he was now the acting head of USAID, calling the agency completely unresponsive.
Their attitude is we don't have to answer to you because we are independent, we answer to no one. Well, that's not true, and that will no longer be the case.
Meanwhile, Noam Unga, an analyst with Washington think tank CSIS, believes the move could come at the cost of the US position in the world.
So the US is actually currently involved in an intense and intensifying competition, a geostrategic competition, largely with China, but also with other adversaries around the world. It actually could have the effect of ceding the battleground or ceding the playing ground, if you will, and others will very enthusiastically fill that void.
The State Department issued worldwide stop work directives after Trump's freeze order, with the exception of emergency food assistance.
Families boarded ferries and extra flights have been scheduled to help people leave Santorini as dozens of tremors shook the Greek island for a fourth day. Now, tremors have been recorded between the volcanic islands of Santorini and Amorgos in the Aegean Sea since Friday. The seismic activity has forced authorities to close schools on the islands until Friday. Bernadette Rangini has more.
Local officials say that permanent residents are not particularly worried as they have been used to quakes. But some who are on the island for work or as tourists are moving out. Many rushed to board the ferry on Monday, including families with baby and children.
We are going to Piraeus. We are going to live there due to fear. What can we do? We are migrants. We came here and we leave again.
Everything is closed. No one works now. The whole island has emptied.
Quakes, some with a magnitude above 4, rattled Santorini every few minutes on Monday. Since Saturday, more than 280 earthquakes have been recorded in the region.
I work on the island. I have been a resident for years. But today, nobody was expecting this to happen. What is happening now on the island is incredible.
People have been advised to stay out of indoor spaces and small ports. Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis is urging people to stay calm. Disaster response units have been deployed on the ground as a precaution.
We have planned for shelters for the population in places without structures and on level surfaces. There are 8 places that can accommodate people. We have recorded all the people with special needs who may need to be transferred at some point during an event. We have made a food district for those that will be outdoors.
Experts say the seismic activity on the island will continue for weeks. Some of the island's most populated areas are perched on steep cliffs. Santorini is on what is known as the Hellenic Volcanic Arc. That's a chain of volcanic islands created by plate tectonics. The last major eruption took place in the 1950s. Greek authorities say the recent minor earthquakes are related to tectonic plate movements instead of volcanic activity. Bernadette Rangini for NET25 World News.
And the news continues here on NET25. We'll be right back.
Kada mustahan na may kasamang pasampol na pangmalakasang kantahan, kasama mga espesyal na bisita ang magpapasaya ng iyong umaga.
And then you discover personalities during the journey. But it was the music that kept us.
Pero we're enjoying every moment na kinakanta nila, kasama namin yung mga kanta na yan. Yeah.
So early 90s, nag-transfer ako sa Cebu. And then doon ako kumakanta.
That's why for this show, gusto namin ibalik yung 80s and 90s.
Kaya naman, magaling manood ng kada umaga 10 a.m. to 12 noon kung gusto niyong ma-LSS, Lunes hanggang Biyernes.
Together, sa NET25, sa NET25.
A female swimmer has died in a shark attack in the waters of a popular tourist spot on Australia's east coast.
I could hear screaming. Next minute, all hell broke loose. There was choppers in the air, the ambos, and the police were running, and it was just, and I just couldn't believe it. And one of the ladies that was down here comforting one of the locals. I've been here 10 years. This has never happened, and it's going to devastate the community.
Queensland State Police said emergency crews were called to the Warren Beach at Bribie Island, about 80 kilometers north of Brisbane, around 5 p.m. local time on Monday, following reports of a serious shark bite incident. The female was swimming when she was bitten by a shark. The female sustained life-threatening injuries and succumbed to those injuries, according to a police spokesperson in an email. Now, police did not disclose the age of the victim, though Australian media widely reported the victim was a 17-year-old girl. OpenAI said it will develop artificial intelligence products for South Korea with chat app operator Kakao, unveiling a second major alliance with a high-profile Asian partner this week.
OpenAI chief Sam Altman is on a whirlwind tour of Asia, and he's picking up deals as he goes. The week started with a visit to Tokyo, where he announced a partnership with giant Japanese tech investor SoftBank. That will see the pair set up a joint venture in Japan to offer AI services to corporate customers. Altman also demoed a new AI agent.
This can do complex research tasks for you.
Tuesday then saw Altman move on to South Korea. There he signed a deal with Kakao, the country's dominant messaging app firm. It too will use tech developed by the ChatGPT maker for its products. That's a bid to catch local rival Naver, which is seen as being ahead on the integration of AI. Altman said South Korean companies would also be big suppliers to the US Stargate project.
So on Stargate, there will be many Korean companies that are important contributors to the ecosystem there.
That was announced by President Donald Trump shortly after his inauguration, with Altman and other tech leaders by his side.
Beginning immediately, Stargate will be building the physical and virtual infrastructure to power the next generation of advancements in AI, and this will include the construction of colossal data centers, very, very massive structures.
South Korean tech giants including SK Hynix and Samsung are major suppliers of the chips used in such services. And Altman said the country's energy, semiconductor and internet companies made it an important market for OpenAI.
Yeah, it's a great market for us, and I think AI adoption here in general has been quite incredible. There's so much of Korea that makes AI a good fit. If you think about all the industry here, from energy to semiconductors to the internet companies.
He's next expected to head for India. Reuters sources say Altman is likely to meet with country Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday.
And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on NET25, I'm Alma Angeles. Have a good night. Thank you.